Some of you know that this week is CES, and Brad,
Yeah, CES.
I know how much you love CES. I couldn't go either. Bummer. It's so much fun, being a little sarcastic. People enjoy it, I guess, but we have a number of founders there showcasing their companies, and since we couldn't be there, and John Hill, who is an amazing Techstars person, is there, we thought we'd run a little experiment and have him talk to some founders basically backstage at CES. So John Hill is going to take it away from here. The following discussion is an expression of personal opinion and does not represent the opinion of Techstars or any company we discuss. Our conversations for informational purposes only, including any mention of securities or funds. This is not legal, business, investment, or tax advice and is not intended for use by any investor. Certain of Techstars funds own or may own in the future securities in some of the companies discussed in this podcast. Got it?
So I'm thrilled to be joined here by Damon Kwong, Techstars founder who went through Detroit Mobility Program, originally from Vancouver, and always a friend of the Canadians. My parents lived in Toronto for 12 years,
Fantastic.
So I feel like I'm quasi-Canadian.
Honorary.
And yeah, honorary, definitely. But his company is Damon Motorcycles. He's the CTO, and he's had an interesting background and ride to build up who he is and what he's about. So love to talk a little bit about your background.
Sure.
And certainly welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
So happy to have you here, man.
Pleasure.
So why don't we start with telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my my entire career has been engineering and manufacturing. Actually, I was born a radio engineer. So back, before the days of the internet, that kind of dates me a little bit, and before the advent of the smallest phones in the world, the company I worked for, Sierra Wireless, where I started, was making data devices, and I worked at that company for 12 years, learned my craft, learned from the best engineers I believe ever, and it was really drilled into me about process and make sure you validate first principles. Those are kind of like the underpinnings of my engineering life. And then from there, ambition took hold. And not so much climbing a corporate ladder, but just being a voice. I saw that business development and engineering were always at odds with each other. And I think for that reason the reason for that is engineers, we are problem solvers.
Linear thinkers.
We're thinkers.
Yeah. A to B to C.
We are clearly a big part of the company.
Yep.
But we are not the company. And let me qualify that. Okay. So I don't want to hurt. I don't want to insult all my engineering brethren out there. We are really important, but also business development is extremely important.
Yep.
And we have to work together. We are the engine room. We keep the train moving. It is business development that allows the train, that lights the path and tells us where to go. But we keep the train moving. Without us, it can't move. And so it was trying to find that voice to kind of go, hey, we have interesting ideas as well. Maybe they're marketable. Maybe the customers would like it, right? So, and so anyways, my journey from that went to consulting. So helping a lot of people try to realize their dreams. It actually opened my eyes quite a bit. I try to be have as much humility as possible. I never talk about I always talk about we. And it was great being able to help other people.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about humility and then you also reference ambition.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at controlled ambition, really effective for a startup, has to be. When you look at humility, I think by nature, startups and entrepreneurship humble you. And the interesting thing with you is both your background is unique because you played with big companies and you've been in smaller experiences.
Yeah.
Talk about the starting of the company.
Yeah.
And kind of take us to present day on that.
Sure. Well, my business partner, Jay Giroux, he and I met 3 years ago. And the way we met was that he had an idea to reboot a company that had a pretty glorious fall, Scully. Scully was a manufacturer of heads-up display for motorcycle helmets, and we had a mutual friend, and he was trying to reboot this company, and he asked them, who around town is familiar with heads-up display and good at engineering, and they right away said, "You got to talk to Dom," right? And we met over, funny enough, at a engineering meetup. I was giving a keynote speech on manufacturing, and the dude waited over an hour for me. And when we met, he proposed this idea about rebooting this company. And funny enough, Scully happened to have their manufacturing facility at the same location that at the time where I was working, which was Recon Instruments, making heads-up display. So we were like pondering the idea, and then did some background research on the product of Scully, and then we realized that it was like a sinking ship, because they had signed up a whole bunch of pre-orders, big dreams. Unfortunately, I believe engineering failed them, and that the company just didn't make it through. And so we decided that, hey, safety should not be married to a motorcycle helmet. Why don't we marry it to a motorcycle? And so it was literally Jay and I and a piece of paper, a slide deck. We had nothing. We had nothing to our names other than our credibility, and here we are trying to raise money. And first 3 months, oh my goodness, the pain of trying to convince people that this is a great idea. Super ambitious. It's like, what? You're making motorcycles and safety systems? Like, why don't you just sell the safety system by itself? Why do you need to build a motorcycle? And we're just like, look, you don't understand that, in this world of OEMs, it's like they move very slow and they're very apprehensive. They love safety. They understand safety, but the two don't mix, which is ironic, right? And so fast forward a bit.
So hold on that, though, because I
Yeah.
actually think there's interesting learnings in what you just
Sure.
talked about. When I think about one of the most important things for early companies, it's founder communication and
Absolutely.
relationship.
Totally.
And it feels like the two of you found each other and knew that you could work through things, because you already talked about the first 3 months being hard. Very easy to give up at that
I'm
point.
going to tell you something that I never even told Jay. I never did any due diligence on Jay.
Not our advice to give to anybody.
Because when I met him, our conversation, there was something with just his energy and our love of motorcycles. And we were just, it was just uncanny. We were playing off each other.
Yeah.
And so that first conversation continues on to our current conversation and our future conversations. We pitch together. It's not just Jay going up in front of the biggest VCs. It's Jay and Dom pitching because we interplay. Like, I will pick off of him. Like, we never practice our pitches.
Yeah. So you know how rare that is for a CTO to be pitching a company.
I realize that now. Because actually, funny enough, I go to all my engineering friends. I go, never have an engineer run the company. That's just instant death. Just don't do it.
You've proven otherwise, though.
Well, I had to learn. And Jay is my biggest mentor in the business development world. And I have been his mentor on the technical side, because he'll come to me and go, Dom, like, how do we do this? And he'll be in a panic. And I'll just look at him just like, straight face and go, shrug my shoulders and go, what? It's like, it's good specs, excellent planning, well execution. And then there you go. We're done like dinner.
Yeah.
And so I've done this like through my entire career for other people. So it's second nature for myself. And, I've been very, very fortunate, very lucky indeed, to have like 2 exits, to been part of 2 startup companies at the time that found their way to huge IPOs and, tremendous acquisition. So, when you talk about the old cliche, being struck by lightning, who gets struck by lightning twice?
Yeah. You do.
I guess so.
So let's jump, flash forward to Techstars Mobility.
Yes.
So near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I lived in Michigan. I went to Michigan State University.
Right.
Did a lot of work in Detroit.
Yep.
And I see Techstars now Detroit.
Yeah.
Used to be Techstars Mobility.
Right.
as like a stake in the ground that the city had made it.
Yep.
And companies like yours are the type of innovative companies that needed to come into the market to help kind of change the dynamic and perception of Detroit in the automotive industry.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very special place in my heart for Techstars. Ted Sabinski, who runs the Techstars Detroit program, was an acquaintance of Jay, and he's, funny enough, Jay spent a lot of time. He was one of the mentors for Techstars. And funny, we never actually applied to the program. They found us, found out what we were doing, and said, "Okay, you gotta be here. You absolutely have to be here." So, super funny segue in the story. I will tell you this: when it was our turn to get in front of all those mentors and the investors for our one and only meeting, as our entry into the program, Jay was having so much trouble signing in on the on Skype, I believe, and he was late to the meeting. It was just me, so I had to kind of buy some time. So I go, I apologize that CEO isn't here. Give us about a minute, right? 10 seconds later, they go, "Why don't you start?" And he always starts the pitch. I come in afterwards. So here I am, starting off the pitch, just going, okay, well, I'll just tell you why we're doing this. I tell you why what we are doing is important to myself and what I think about the industry as a whole and the company. And so that was it. He came in after the fact, but I think one of the things that the feedback that we got once we were accepted into the program was that they really appreciated that the CTO knew as much about the business as the CEO.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's super rare. And so, Jay and I, we are a duo, we are a combo. And I know as an engineer how much I have to support my business development partner here, right? To the point where, I'm here to provide options. Engineers are here to provide options. We do make decisions where, regarding the technical side, but we have to enable our business development partners, the ones that, are out there in front of the public eye, in front of VCs, investors, customers, to allow them, to give them tools to actually sell.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
Right? So, I accept my role, and I really appreciate that he's basically pulled me by the scruff of my neck and said, "You're going to be in front of these guys too. You're going to talk to the investors," because you know what? He can sell like nobody's business. But I think that when the investors, when they talk to me, there's some kind of they feel that
authenticity, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
Like there's some I'm genuine. That I'm not here to pull the wool over or sell them a bag of lemons or something like that, right? Like I'm the lemonade maker.
Yeah.
You can give me a bunch of lemons, right? So
that's a cool way to represent it. So, bring us. We'll talk about program, right?
Sure.
Just very briefly, what was your experience at the Techstars Mobility program? How did that help you? How did it move the needle forward?
I think the biggest thing that Techstars was able to give us was really, really honest to goodness, no BS review of our business plan.
Yeah. Good critical feedback, right?
Absolutely. Does it make sense? And also, they help train us to always review the business, right? Pivoting is not a bad word.
Yeah.
Pivoting without the reason to pivot is bad.
Yeah.
So Techstars gave us that ability. They were also giving us that critical eye.
Do you think people get hung up on this is my idea and I don't want to change my idea?
Inventor syndrome?
Yeah.
Oh, it's everywhere. I in my consulting days had to deal with it. I'm telling you, good idea, better. Here's a better implementation. Nope, has to be this way. By hook or by crook, with no any information, no data. So it's hard.
Yeah.
But in the consulting world, I'm able to kind of okay, customer always right. At the end of the day, I can walk away and just go, okay, it's all good.
So let's flash forward to today.
Yeah.
And this has been a ultra special day for you.
Absolutely.
And I think it's one of those experiences that not many people will ever have. And it really, I think when you think about how few people will take an idea to fruition and then actually be able to bring that idea to fruition on a world stage, talk a little bit about your day-to-day, which I think is pretty awesome.
It's we are extremely lucky, and we are extremely fortunate to be able to unveil at the BlackBerry QNX booth, have BlackBerry QNX support us for the launch of the Damon Hypersport. It has been 3 years of just blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of tears, tons of sweat, plenty of blood.
Overnight success, right?
Oh, of course, snap my fingers, and people will buy in. No, it's been. You know what? I will say this. It's the team. You surround yourself with the best people possible, good things will happen.
Hear, hear.
There's no
Totally
reason
agree with
why
that.
good things can't happen to good people. So, we have an amazing team. We have an amazing team, and we have great vision. And, our team trusts that Jay and I will go out and, do our thing. And this unveil, man, I mean, it was just something else to be able to see the crowd react to the bike, to what it does, and have our customers, our riders out there just go, I can't believe you built this thing.
Yeah, flip that though, because talk about the emotion of seeing something actually unveiled that you spent so much time on. Like, what does that feel for you in that moment?
Tears.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's all I can say. I'm teary right now.
Yeah.
And
You literally are tearing up right
I'm,
now.
I'm,
That
I'm
is-
not afraid
Yeah.
of that, because I think about our team.
Yeah.
I think about what they have done to have so much trust in Jay and I, in our vision, and our investors. I mean, our investors are like, they just go, I can't believe you're doing this, and what you're in front of. You're in the North Hall, surrounded by Honda, Audi, Intel, Velodyne, giants. We're this, little guy.
Yeah.
And first of all, just to toot our own horns, it takes great vision. It takes excellent execution, but it takes an incredibly passionate team to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay? We create our own luck, period. Full stop.
Wow. So I'm ridiculously inspired right now, and I wish that people who are listening to this could actually see you, because it's very rare that I come across an engineer that understands leadership, that understands the business development side of the business, and then has EQ. Like I'm glad we imported you from Canada to Las Vegas for this. Like, that is so awesome.
No, it's ironically, I'm not actually comfortable with this.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the spotlight. I don't like I'm describing you my feelings.
Yep.
But it's always we.
Yeah.
Anyways,
nothing's built
I always
individually.
talk,
I think we'd all
I always
agree on
talk
that.
like philosophical and stuff. But that's really what drives me, right? I mean, it's just inspiring to see so many good people do what they do and how they do it, and you're like, oh my god, like, okay, and then to have people come up to you and just go, I can't believe you just did what you did, and the part of me is just like shrug my shoulders and say, what? Okay, yes, it's amazing. It's amazing, but there's just a lot of planning and good work that goes into it to make it amazing. And we're also extremely thankful that people think it's amazing. We built the product for the customer. I know that's obvious, but we listen to them succinctly.
Yeah.
Right? So, and we talk to them.
It's customer first, right?
100%. Like, you heard the old cliche, right? Product looking for a customer,
Yeah.
we'll never find one.
Yeah.
But and this is why, yes, we're in the biggest technology playground known to man, but technology does not sell companies. the vision, the dream, the product, meeting customers' expectation, that's what sells the company. Technology is just it's a vehicle. You know, I use technology as a tool to be able to do what we do. That's it. To help tell stories. Hey, dude, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah, I feel like we should do like a 7-part Dom series.
Do it.
We could have a ton of fun with this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch things up a little
Sure.
bit. Brad and David do a piece as they're kind of wrapping down the podcast.
Yeah.
And we're, in essence, taking over the Give First podcast.
Okay.
And we're doing it live from CES. We're working with our Techstars founders who are doing really unique things here.
Yeah.
And obviously, you've had one of the most unique experiences at CES.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Absolutely.
Just whatever comes to mind.
Yep.
So one word to describe how you're feeling right now.
Joy.
That's a good one. What's the coolest thing you've seen in Las Vegas?
Our booth.
That was a brilliant answer. I like that one. And did you do a New Year's resolution?
I did.
Do you mind sharing it?
Sure.
And if you share it, are you keeping to it?
I will. I promise to spend more time on me. I give myself to everything that I do, because that's what I want to do, and I've ignored myself. I've ignored, you know, keeping myself whole. You know, and that it's easy to kind of fall into that trap.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much, Dom.
My pleasure.
Like,
No, thank you for
opened
having me.
up. There is no doubt about it. It was beautiful to watch. We'll be keeping an eye on Damon Motorcycles and what's happening in the future.
Please do.
Love to thank everybody who's listening. We'll be doing a couple other conversations like this at CES. And of course, and I think you represent this by participating in this, but always give first. And
Absolutely.
It's a good way to wrap.
We hope we did Techstars proud.